The Lundin group of companies holds an extensive resource-based portfolio with exploration, mining, and oil and gas operations around the world. The continent of Africa is no exception, as the Lundin family has been actively working here for more than 30 years. In an effort to share the wealth created through the resource sector, the Lundin family has developed numerous initiatives to create positive, sustainable change within the communities they do business in. Building upon their father's legacy, Ian and Lucas have embarked upon a campaign of their own called the Lundin for Africa Foundation.
The foundation's inception dates back to January of 2006, and Lucas Lundin and his brother Ian and a third party who's a famous motorcycle rider in Sweden drove their motorcycles from Cairo all the way down to Cape Town.
We drove through 10 countries from Egypt down to South Africa. So we spent 35-40 days doing that. It was a lot of fun.
The concept was to approach poverty reduction and sustainable development as if it was a business venture within the resource sector, meaning the keen business skills honed by the brothers would be put to use finding the most effective, efficient, and impactful ways to help the impoverished within Africa.
There is something that runs through the Lundin Group, and in fact most of the mining industry, which is a culture of innovation, a culture of risk-taking, of course without being reckless about it. And we are really trying to position this foundation at the leading edge of change in Africa, and that really stems from an acknowledgement that while not all aid has been a failure, I think the successes that have been achieved can be built upon, and we need to try some more innovative ways of approaching particularly the complex problems of private sector development and the inclusion of women specifically in private sector development in Africa.
And the $1.5 million raised through the bike trip was enough to get things started.
Subsequent to that, of course, we dispersed that first bit of money over the following 18 months, and in July of last year, of course, Lucas made this $100 million commitment to the Clinton Justra Sustainable Growth Initiative, which we are currently meeting through program expenditures, which are managed directly by Lundin for Africa.
The Lundin for African Foundation does not make cash donations to projects. Their approach is one of integration, commitment, and accountability.
We have baseline measurements of the community at project conception. The community itself participates in defining what a positive result will be. We have conditional disbursements in our agreements with NGOs so that if they meet their objectives for year one, that triggers disbursement of year two. If not, we try to work through some of the challenges and the risks. In other words, how much transformation per dollar can we have in Africa that is sustainable?
The foundation works with both local and international NGOs to support grassroots initiatives. They primarily operate within 6 countries in which the Lundins already have projects, as this alignment helps to keep the overall cost structures down.
Rather than focusing across a number of different intervention areas in Africa, be they health, education, and the like, we've really focused now just specifically on sustainable livelihoods initiatives. And sustainable livelihoods for us, I guess you could say, is a 3-legged stool. The first leg of the stool really is looking at building enabling conditions for private sector activity to occur. So we've been involved in some technical and vocational training initiatives, particularly for the youth cohort in Africa, people aged 15 to 24 who may have been missed by primary or secondary education.
The second leg of the stool, microfinance. NARN estimates 30% of the population could benefit directly from having access to small loans or credit, particularly women.
The third leg of the stool for us is trying to build sustainable small and medium-sized businesses in Africa. And the way we're approaching that is through what I would call non-commercial capital markets interventions, where small and medium-sized businesses in Africa have access to equity and loans and so on at below commercial rates, particularly those enterprises that are measurable both in terms of their financial performance and their social performance.
Both Lundin and NARN insist for business and projects to be successful in a continent whose history includes colonization and dictatorship, self-actualization and empowerment are essential.
I think education and lending money and things like this, where they can create their own wealth is the only way we're going to be able to help them. And of course schools and education and medicine is very important also. That should be a side, but I think you have to empower the people themselves. If you can't empower them, you're not going to get there.
If they don't do that, then they won't take ownership of the project, and they will not look after it beyond the time at which the NGO is present there. And to us, These are some learnings that I think come to us indirectly through the mining sector, and it's really, I think, pushed us in the direction of developing a lot of rigor around our performance metrics. As rigorous as they are, we also have to be flexible. But overall, our results to date, I think, have been very positive, and we're looking forward to doing more of the same in 2008.